Today, we're diving headfirst into some of the most baffling and eerie urban legends out there. From disappearing islands to haunted bridges, these stories are sure to give you chills. Grab your popcorn, sit back, and let's explore these mysteries together. Bermeja, the Vanishing Island. Imagine this. It's the 16th century, and Spanish explorers are charting the Gulf of Mexico. On their maps, you always see a tiny island called Bermeja off the north coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. Spanish cartographer Alonso de Santa Cruz even put it on an official list in 1539. It was real enough that no one questioned it. Fast forward a couple of hundred years, and Bermeja starts to sink. At least that's what French-Mexican cartographers in the mid-1800s claimed. By the 1920s, it had vanished from maps entirely. Then, in the late 90s, things got interesting. The US and Mexico were negotiating oil rights in the Gulf. If Mexico could prove Bermeja existed, they'd get a bigger slice of the oil pie. Cue 3 high-tech Mexican government searches. They found absolutely nothing. It was like Bermeja had never been there. And then, drama. A year after the failed searches, Mexican Senator Jose Angel Ciancielo, a big advocate for Mexico's oil rights, died in a suspicious car accident. This fueled conspiracy theories that the CIA had blown up the island to benefit the US. A bit far-fetched, right? More likely explanations include an earthquake or underwater landslide sinking the island. Despite another deep-sea search in 2009, Bermeja remained elusive, leading some to believe it was a cartographic error that snowballed over centuries. Whether it was real or not, Bermeja's mystery still captivates imaginations today. Overton Bridge, the dog suicide bridge. Next up, let's head to Scotland and the spooky Overton Bridge in Dumbarton. Built in 1895, this Gothic bridge looks pretty normal at first glance. But over the last 80 years, something bizarre has been happening. Dogs have been leaping off this bridge to their deaths. Depending on who you ask, the number of dogs ranges from 100 to several hundred. Creepy, right? Locals have all sorts of theories. Some say the bridge is at a thin place, where the barrier between heaven and earth is super thin. Others blame the ghost of the White Lady of Overton, a widow from the nearby manor. And then there's the tragic 1994 case, where a father threw his baby off the bridge, believing the child was the Antichrist. Yikes! But let's not get too carried away with the supernatural. Animal behaviorist David Sands has a more practical theory. He thinks the dogs are attracted by the smell of minks living below the bridge. Long-nosed breeds, in particular, seem to go nuts for it. And because the bridge has tapered edges, dogs might not realize they're running off a cliff. So, while ghost stories are fun, it's probably just curious pups chasing a scent. Viaduct Petrobras, Brazil's abandoned highway. Now, let's travel to Brazil and the Viaduct Petrobras. In the 1950s, Brazil began building BR-101, its longest highway. Part of this project was the Viaduct Petrobras, intended to connect Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo through the jungle. But due to an economic crisis in the 60s, plans changed, and this massive structure was abandoned. Today, the viaduct stands eerily in the middle of the jungle. Over 130 feet tall and almost 1,000 feet long, it's a giant concrete ghost, slowly being reclaimed by nature. To an outsider, it looks like a misplaced piece of a cityscape dropped into the wild. Despite its creepy vibe, it's now a popular spot for adventurous tourists and locals. Imagine trekking through dense jungle and suddenly stumbling upon this colossal bridge. It's like something out of a dystopian movie. Kola super deep borehole, drilling to hell. Back in the 60s, during the space race, the US and the Soviet Union were also competing to drill the deepest hole on Earth. The US's Project Mahole aimed to reach the Earth's mantle by drilling into the seabed off Guadalupe Island. After drilling 600 feet deep, the project was canned due to costs. The Soviets took a turn in 1970, drilling near Murmansk, Russia. They aimed for over 9 miles but had to stop at 7.5 miles due to extreme heat, 360 degrees. This was the Kola Super Deep borehole, the world's deepest man-made hole. Despite this achievement, the project ended in 1992. with the hole sealed in 2005. But the story doesn't end there. In the late 80s, rumors spread that Soviet scientists had drilled into hell and recorded tormented screams. These sounds from hell turned out to be a hoax, using audio from a 1972 horror movie. Still, it freaked people out. Even without the fake screams, strange deep rumbling noises were recorded from the hole, likely just rocks shifting. Whether it's hell or just geology, the Kola borehole remains a source of eerie fascination. Potomsky Crater, Fire Eagle Nest. In 1949, Russian geologist Vadim Kolpakov discovered a bizarre crater in Siberia, dubbed Fire Eagle Nest. This 500-foot wide, 140-foot tall crater has puzzled scientists and spawned wild theories. Locals warned Kolpakov of its evil powers, but he climbed it anyway, finding no meteorite evidence. Expeditions continued, including one in 2005, where the leader died of a heart attack shortly after visiting. Theories ranged from UFO landings to links with the Tunguska event. The crater frequently changes shape, suggesting ongoing geological activity. Strangely, nearby trees grow much faster, reminiscent of Chernobyl's post-disaster growth spurt. Scientists believe underground hydrogen release from a gas volcano might explain the crater and the tree growth. Despite this theory, the Fire Eagle Nest remains a mysterious and eerie landmark. Villa Epican, the drowned town. Lastly, let's visit Villa Epican in Argentina. Built in the 1920s along Lago Epican, this tourist village thrived as a weekend getaway for the upper class. But in 1985, disaster struck. A storm broke the containment dam, flooding the town under 30 feet of water. For 25 years, Villa Epican lay submerged. When the waters receded in 2009, the ghostly remains of the town emerged. Now, with overgrown trees and a salt-covered dystopian appearance, it attracts tourists and photographers. One resident, Pablo Novak, returned to live there in 2009 at age 81. He stayed until his death in 2024 at 93, becoming a cultural ambassador for this eerie ghost town. There you have it, folks. 6 tales of mystery and intrigue from around the world. Whether you're a fan of ghost stories, conspiracies, or just love a good mystery, these stories remind us of the world's endless wonders. Stay curious and keep exploring.